Who's in your top four?
You start with Georgia. That's not in dispute. And after that, I would put Alabama next. I don't think this committee will, Max. I think you'll see either Cincinnati, Michigan State, or Alabama, some combination of that. I think the most interesting school tonight is Cincinnati. They have that one big win at Notre Dame. They play clearly in a subpar conference compared to the big boys. But they have not lost a regular season game in 2 years, and they have the public support. Whether that means anything to these 13 people on the committee, I don't know.
All right, Paul, that's yours, but yeah, I know that you and the committee think differently at times. What do you think the committee, what do you think their top four will be?
Yeah, I think after Georgia at number one, my guess is Michigan State because they've had a very impressive run. Probably Cincinnati and Alabama. They value what happens on the field, and we all know Alabama's lost. The confusing thing, I will say this, Jay Will, right now, is do not, under any circumstance, get too hung up on what you see tonight. I realize it's the first reveal, and it's very important, and we're all excited. However, there are a lot of games left that will matter a great deal, especially for a school like Ohio State, who lost earlier in the season to Oregon, but still has Michigan State on November 20th and Michigan at the end of the month. And those are powerful games in terms of improving their resume. It's also going to be interesting to see how the committee divvies up Oregon and Ohio State. Remember, they met second week of the season. Oregon won the game. Even though I think right now, and I hope our later guest isn't listening, that Ohio State probably is trending in a better direction than Oregon, the committee likely will value what happened on the field, which is understandable.
Paul, where does Cincinnati need to be in tonight's ranking to have a legitimate shot at the college football playoff? We know they beat Notre Dame, right? And then from there, you kind of got to find something and put it together to make a case.
And it's hard to do, Keyshawn. If they are at the number 4 position, I would be very concerned because I think they're going to move down. If they're number 2 or 3, then they can breathe a little bit easier. Their problem is the schedule. They have SMU in 3 weeks. That is a good game if you're a football junkie, but if you're sitting there watching at a bar in Manhattan, you're going like, what kind of garbage is that? I'm not gonna get that off my TV. And seriously, SMU lost over the weekend, which, again, the same guy in the bar didn't see because they were playing Houston, but the committee pays attention to all this wonkiness. So I think if they're below 3, they're in trouble.
Well, I've been hearing Mel Tucker's name a lot more now associated with, all these different schools that are looking for jobs. Like, where do you think, I'm not trying to take him away from Michigan State right now, but are you hearing the same? Is there that same excitement about Mel Tucker?
Yes, and what's interesting, 3 weeks ago when Mel Tucker's name came up, a lot of people are shaking their head going, who's Mel Tucker? He's moved jobs. He was an assistant under Saban and then Kirby Smart, and then he went to Colorado for a year, and then he went to Michigan State. But that was a signature win the other day, and I think what it's done is it makes it easier for him to be hired at LSU, and he's clearly near or at the top of that list. I also think it puts a lot more pressure on the people in East Lansing to keep him. A win like that, and suddenly you call the big boosters, the guys that own the food chains and everything else, and go, hey, we need money to keep this guy here. And the fact that he just beat Jim Harbaugh makes it easier, I think, to make that happen.
Paul, we have Mario Cristobal on the show at 9:45 a.m. this morning. Where do you think Oregon will be ranked in tonight's rankings?
I think they'll be probably 5th or 6th, and they lost one game in overtime at Stanford, but they have one of the 2 or 3 best wins of the year in college. Well, let me correct myself. I think they may have the best win of the year in college football, going to the Horseshoe and beating Ohio State. And I will say this about Mario Cristobal. For those who don't know much about him, he is a superb coach. He's a great recruiter. He was at Alabama for a number of years under Nick Saban, and they love him in Tuscaloosa. Well, I say that because you're always looking ahead as who could end up taking Nick Saban's place whenever he leaves. Mario Cristobal would be very much on the top of that list right now. Now, the question is, his name comes up for every job. It came up for SC a couple of weeks ago, as you guys remember. I think he is in a great spot at Oregon. I don't think he'll leave right now, but he is going to. He is and will continue to be one of the hottest coaches in the country.
Paul, you run the SEC. You got all the information. You know where the bones are buried down in that country and that land. What did you make of Dan Mullen's comments that he won't talk about recruiting outside of the recruiting season for whatever strange reasons? And when you think about it, could his job be in jeopardy at Florida?
Keyshawn, I thought it was one of the most foolish comments I've heard from a big-time coach in a long time. And so for a little bit of context here, Dan Mullen has done a good job at Florida. He played in the SEC championship game last year. He nearly won against Alabama this year in September. But he has been unable to recruit at the same level as Kirby Smart at Georgia and Saban and even Coach O at LSU, and it has baffled people. This is a guy that coached Tim Tebow. He coached Alex Smith earlier in his career. He pretty much turned Dak Prescott into a no-name at Mississippi State, and we all know what Dak is today. But I can't quite explain it. There are a lot of theories on all this. So what happened the other day, to getting to your question, Kirby Smart, after the Georgia beatdown of Florida, was asked about recruiting, and he said, listen, that's the most important thing you have to do.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.